Hi guys, I hope you can see me and hear me, and I think we are ready to start. If somebody could confirm that you can actually hear me and see me. Cool. Okay. Cool. So where everyone has access to speak, but I'd like you to be muted if possible. So I'll be sharing my screen. The session is recorded, so you'll be able to see it later if you like. So yeah, let's start. Okay, screen one, go live. Cool. Perfect. Cool. So today's session is a live coding session with developer program, and the subject is authorizing web apps in LiveChat. So this is actually part two. The first part we had a few weeks ago, which was about building a simple app inside the agent app using the customer profile. But today we're going to extend the app we created, and we're going to use authorization from developer console. But I will show you that in a minute. So yeah, this is our team developer program. So few words about me. My name is Jacob. I'm a front-end developer at LiveChat developer program team. You can find me on Twitter. And yeah, my hobby is movies, soundtracks, and simple. So yeah. So agenda for today is yeah, I'm going to have a live demo. And then we're going to have questions and answers, and then there is a coding contest which you can do at home. More info is going to be on Discord channel. So yeah, cool. So what we're going to build today is this little weather widget, which was going to show the weather from the customer, which we already actually created on the part one. So the next part is going to be sending the 12-hour weather forecast to a customer using LiveChat functionality. Cool. So very quickly, I'm going to okay, and some things from organizational stuff. So if you have any questions, please ask them on Discord channel, and I will be checking that and hopefully answer as soon as I can, or just leave it till the end of the presentation, and then I'll answer. The session shouldn't take longer than 2 hours. Hopefully, it's going to be not that long, but yeah, cool. Let's start. So I'm going to create quickly an app in our developer console. So we're going to create an app called Weather App. Okay, so very important thing about your app is to get some icon. So I've got something here, cool, and for the short description, display customer weather, and save. Cool. And then from building blocks, we are going to need a agent app widget, which we're going to create very quickly. We are using localhost for now for the dev purposes, but of course, when you're going to publish your app, you need to host it somewhere. But this is my URL where I'm going to implement the app. And I think that's it for now. Cool. Right, so let's install it privately on our license. And let's check out. Okay, so I prepared the repo where I have the app from the part one. So this is the app you can find on I'm going to share the repository to GitHub on Discord, so you can check it out. So if I start it now, hopefully. Okay, so now if you go to now we are in LiveChat app. Yeah, so this is the place when you're actually chatting, where your agent is going to chat with the customers. So here is a test page when you can actually test how that's going to work. So we're going to behave as a customer, where we're sending a message to your agent. As you can see, the app is already installed, but it's only installed privately on your account, so nobody else can see it because it's not published. So I think it's not going to work, because we are by default I'm using the Create React App framework. So we actually in LiveChat require that the widget is actually served from SSL. So there's a little trick on there. For development purposes, fine. So I'm just going to start again. Okay. Cool. That's loaded. So now if I refresh the page, sweet. So now it's showing the customer weather. How does it work? Very simple. It's just a reminder from the last time. We are using Agent App SDK, where we can actually get information about each customer profile, and then we are calling the API. The API for this task, I'm using the Open Weather API and the current weather data endpoint. Cool. So now it's showing me currently my weather and my city. Okay, but what? So this is very simple. But what if you would like to communicate with a customer in a different way? So, for example, I don't know, you have like a holiday business, and you would like to send some information to a customer about the weather. Sorry, is there any questions? No. Okay. About the weather. So here, where the power of LiveChat API comes. So in order to use LiveChat API, we are going to need a authorization block. So in order to do that, you just go to your building blocks in developer console, hit on get started, and here you have two options. One is JavaScript, and one is server-side app. So in this part, we are going to use the web app. So we're going to choose the first one. There's going to be a next session in a few weeks' time when we're going to actually implement a server-side app. But for now, we are using JavaScript app. Cool. So here, what's important is the client ID, which we're going to use, and some redirect URIs and some scopes, but we'll get there later. Okay, we have some questions. Right, okay, Casper has some problems. Okay, so anyone else can see? All right, okay, cool, sweet. Fine. Okay, so we created this authorization block, but in order to use that block in our app, we are going to need a Accounts SDK to connect. So we have this LiveChat implemented this SDK, so we can just install it. So let's do that quickly. And while we are waiting, we're going to start and plan the app. So here we have our app. So I'm going to create a hook for for the authorization. I'm going to name it, I don't know, use of, for example. Cool. So what we're going to do is call it use of. Maybe let me zoom that a little bit more. Okay. Sweet. So of course we need to import that SDK from LiveChat SDK app, and I'm going to use React hooks. So we're going to use effect and use state from React. Cool. Okay. So let's jump back to documentation. So what we need to do first is to create, maybe zoom that in as well. What we need to do first is create an instance of Accounts SDK where we're going to add the client ID and redirect URI. This is some example how to handle that authorization flow with vanilla JavaScript, but we are using React. So we can skip that part. Cool. So yeah, let's create an instance for the Accounts SDK. Let's copy that. We are here. Okay, and our client ID you can get from the console. Don't need secret because this is web app. Of course, I'm not suggesting you paste that like this, but for the coding purposes, for this demo purposes, it's fine. Sorry, do we have any questions or? Oh, okay. Cool. But what actually this hook is going to return? So definitely we're going to use I need some access token in order to communicate with our API, and some information about if the user is logged in or not. So let me jump quickly to documentation. So here, as I mentioned, we have several options. We're going to use client ID, response type, by default is token, so that's what we actually need. And we are going to use the iframe flow. So if we find that here, for some reason I can't find it, but anyway, I know it by heart. Cool. So right. So what this hook is going to return, let's say, I don't know, we call it data. If the user is logged in, and if it's logging in order to show, like, I don't know, the loading screen or something. So I'm going to explain you how our Accounts SDK connects with the widget, which is inside an iframe, and how it takes a token, and how this authorization works perfectly. So hold on a second. Okay, do I have any questions? Okay, no, fine. Sweet. So let's create some states. Yeah, so set data is state by default is going to be null, and then we are going to create those states for user who's logged in, and the setters. Use state, it's going to be false, and we're going to do something similar for when we actually logging in, because we'll get that information from SDK. Okay. So now, if we have that hook, of course it's not going to work yet, but let's quickly do some coding, do some dummy coding here. So we're going to export that hook on the app in the app component. That's where hooks is off. Cool. And this is supposed to return, as I mentioned before, is logged in, is logging in the data. Maybe, I don't know, let's call it auth data for that. And we are going to call it like this. Of course, this won't work yet, but we'll get there. Cool. Right. So let's go back to the implementation of the use of hook. So to get, because as you can probably imagine, this is going to be asynchronous. So let's use effect in order to handle fetching the accounts. Excuse me. So you're going to create a fetch account method, which is going to be async. I'm using async await, but if you prefer promises syntax, it's fine as well. So let's try catch some errors, and finally, right. So let's set some initial stuff. So if actually we're going to fetch an account, we are logging in, yes. So the logged in is always false. Then we're setting the state that we're actually logging in. So we're going to set up the true, and the data we can clear the data to be initially null. Okay, so if this happens, fine. So here we're going to get that Accounts SDK instance. Let's stick it here. We have that Accounts SDK. So hopefully this should return our. So there is a method and instance called iframe. You can find that in documentation. I think there is. Sorry, there was one thing which I forgot. Let's extract some options. So the client ID. So this is our options to create an instance of Accounts SDK, but also you need to pass that instance to your iframe, and iframe then have a method to authorize, and if all goes well, authorize, then you'll get the data. Hold on, I have some questions probably. Okay. Cool. Okay, here we have data. Okay, so now if the SDK is going to authorize correctly, then we can set our state. Oh, sorry, I think I missed a letter here. Logging. Cool. So we can say that we are logged in, and that's true. And we can set the data, our auth data, which we are going to use later, in here. If, of course, we need to handle errors. So if you have any errors, well, for now, for this demo, I'm just going to send that error, show that error in the DevTools. We are going to say set data to null, and instead of repeating itself like that user is actually not logging in anymore, we just use finally block to do that here. And we would like this this effect, this hook to be called only once. So in order to do that, we're just going to use this empty dependency syntax, but of course we need to call it first. Okay, so that looks fine for now. We also, of course, we need to export that to be able to use it, and here we can do some console logs, hopefully. So console log is logged in, is logging in, and the data. Because I can't actually see you and hear you. I just wanted to check. If you can still hear me and see me fine. Thank you. Okay, so I have a question. Can you explain the difference between iframe, pop-up, and folder arrays? Yes, I'll do that. I'll do that after the session. Cool. Okay, so let's see what we have in our LiveChat. So if I reload the frame, of course it's not running. So let's start that. Okay, it says building locally. Okay, so as I mentioned, this section here in the agent app is using iframe. So in order to authorize between this widget and the LiveChat app, we're using this Accounts SDK, which using the iframe method. So behind the scenes, in a nutshell, is just trying to get a token from the the token from the cookies from the parent from this app, and trying to authorize in the background. So let's see if that works. Okay, so what errors we have here? Up 6. Oh yeah, okay, sorry, that was my mistake. This is an object, not an array. Okay, so let's reload it. See. Okay, so we have some data and we have some error that that our domain actually is not whitelisted. Okay, so what we need to do is go to our block, authorization block, and just put our local host. Oops. Okay, and save the changes. Okay, that's fine. Need to reinstall the app and refresh again. So now we should be able to authorize because our local host is because our local host is not whitelisted. So as you can see, we are getting some data back. Yeah, so we've got access token, where it expires, and some information about it. Cool. So now what we can do is we can use that access token and communicate with our API and send something to our customers. So for example, in our case, what we're going to do, the plan is to send a rich message, which I'm going to show you in a minute, with some weather forecast. Okay, cool. So we can actually close that, and we're going to pass these props to the auth data, and actually just for the purposes of this demo, we can do a simple loading state that actually is working, and if we're not loading and we're not logged in, then we're not going to display anything. So yeah, loading, fine. Okay, so we actually finished with this hook. We can go next to the widget component. So the widget component displays this window here. So I already have prepared some CSS and HTML to display all that stuff. We are using a design system from LiveChat, which I encourage you to use when you're actually implementing your app, because the app looks and feel that actually is a part of the big app, yeah, so it doesn't stand out. Cool. So here I prepared also some mocks from the weather and for the forecast. I'm going to split that later for the live API, but for the time being, let's use that here. Cool. So we have that information here. We have our weather card, which is here, and then we have our button. Okay, so we need to add some on-click event on that button. So let's go to the weather card. And I don't know, let's call it send 12-hour forecast. Okay. And on click, we are going to do, I don't know, create a method called send forecast, for example. So let's create that method here. Okay, so this is going to be an async method. Just going to accept some stuff. Oops. Cool. So right. Let's go back to the documentation. So what I would like to do is send a rich message. So as you can see, we have different types of rich messages in LiveChat. So you can send like a message like which looks like a card. So you have an image, some title, subtitle, and a button, which can then react. Depends of your need. Then we have some carousel, which actually we're going to use to show different weather and different time. And then we have other options. So yeah, this link is also shared in Live Coding Now channel. So I encourage you to have a look. So let's see what we actually need here. So example with carousel. Okay, I can't find it for some reason. Okay, so this is it. Cool. So we need template ID and some elements. As I said before, there's some title, subtitle, some image, excuse me, and some buttons. But first, maybe we need to create a API method, which will get us the forecast of the weather based on the profile city. So cool. So let's make that here. So this method actually is going to format, like build the message, build the rich message, and then using the LiveChat API, we're going to send that to the customer. So first of all, I would love to have a method called get forecast. Okay, so get forecast will be accepting a city as an argument, and we are going to use then we are going to use the Open Weather API, which I showed you before. Cool. So as an API client, I like to use Axios, but you can use any library you like, or Fetch, or whatever. So let's install that quickly. Okay. While this is installing, I'm going to import that over here. Okay, and then we're going to call this as there is a get method on the forecast API. So we are using the where is this? I think this one, hourly forecast for 4 days. So okay, so the endpoint is HTTPS API. Got it somewhere here. Right. Okay. So this is the base URL. Okay. And then there is a forecast, which then accepts URL params as such. So this is a syntax from Axios, so you can get it from notifications from documentation. So the query is city, then the app ID is going to be our token, the API token for this account. So I'm going to put that in a minute. I know that by default, I think it's using Imperial, but we want metrics, units, and what we would like to have is number of timestamps. So we're going to use 5. Okay. So we have that data here, which we can then return. And of course, if we have any error, just for the purposes of demo, I suggest you to handle that better by showing some information to your user like this. Okay, so we have that get forecast method. So let's see what actually we're getting back. So send forecast accepts a city. Cool. So so let's say we would like to know forecast. forecast. Okay, and we have await and get forecast, and here we're going to pass a city. And let's make sure if we have any errors to handle them for now. Cool. So if we go console log forecast, okay. So what actually we need is we need to pass a city to this handler. So from the previous section, we have that information in the profile, which you can extract from geolocation and the city. So yeah, let's do that then. So we have on click and just pass the geolocation. Of course, sometimes can happen that the city does not exist, but for the purpose of this demo, I'll do it like this. Okay, so the last thing I need is to change this app ID to the API token. I created few for the purpose of this demo, so I have them here. You can then create your own. I'm going to delete those so they won't be working. But okay, so let's change that here and see if we're going to get some forecast data. Cool. So let's close that and start the app. Okay. So now, right. Let's reload the frame. Okay, and open our dev tools in the network tab. So hopefully we'll get some forecast. Okay, so as you can see, we're using the Open Weather API. We are actually passing the information from the profile, from the customer profile, using metrics and the 5 timestamps, and we get back so list of weather forecast for the next 5 I think it's 12 hours in total for the city we provided. Cool. Okay, so let's go to let's go to our code. What we'd like to do is to format the data now and send it to the user. So okay, so we have some data here, which I'm going to replace that quickly. Yes. Yes. Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll be happy to help you. If you can maybe drop that question on Ask Community channel, and we'll be happy to. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Go on, Philip. Cool. Okay. No, so that's easy. That's something I actually find out today as well. Thanks, Philip, for that. Cool. Okay. So as we're talking about limits, open weather map also has limits. So what I'm going to do is really quickly just copy that response and save it to my mock. So in order to just use that for the development purposes. Okay, so let's call that data, and this is going to go as from our mocks. So let me just import that quickly. Import forecast data from data forecast JSON. Okay. Cool. So maybe call it forecast as we did. Oh no, sorry, this is fine. Cool. Okay. So let's just make sure that works. Yes, perfect. Okay. So we are inside our send forecast method, and what we need to do is format based on the documentation elements, and inside those elements, what I would like to have is a title, which is a day, then a subtitle where we display temperature and maybe a description about the weather. And then what else? And for the image, we're going to display, actually the weather API provides an image API which shows different icon depends on the weather. So we're going to use that for the image. Okay, so let's create an array. Forecast, I'll call it forecast items. And let's see what we have here. So, okay, so we have some list, and inside each list we have some timestamp, we have some temperature, maximum, minimum, and I hope this is all in metric. And I believe we also have, yeah, there is information about an icon, and also there is a description which we are going to use as well. Cool. So we need to map over forecast list. Okay. So let's call this item, and what we are going to return. Okay. So I need a day. So the day is going to be stored in here. Okay, so we have some data in text. I'm going to use that now. And then we have some description, which we're going to create, which we're going to use. And I think this is coming from the weather. So that's an array and description. Okay, so for the purpose of this demo, again, I'm going to assume that this exists. But I encourage you to do some checks first. And then for the temperature, we're going to use main object and the temperature. Okay, so there's a item, main, and the temp. But I would like to parse it to integer just to make it simple. Then I'd like to know the maximum temperature. So we have some temp max. Okay, and similar, we're going to have a minimum temperature. Cool. And the last thing which I need is going to be an icon. Okay, So I know that in documentation says that there is a URL where you can actually hook into and then use the weather icon, which is here, and get your image over there. So I believe this is mentioned somewhere in docs. Don't remember where that is now, but hopefully somewhere here. Okay, so let's interpolate that. So we just go item, weather, first element, and an icon, and use that syntax. So now hopefully we will have our forecast items formatted, but let's make sure. So let's console log that real quick. Okay. So let's clear our console. Okay. So now we have our forecast with some description, some temperature, and some icon. And just to double check that actually this icon works. Cool. Okay. So we have some snow. Perfect. Okay, the only thing I don't like is the day format. I don't want to show that to a user in format like this. So what I'm going to do is display that in some nicer format. Let me just make sure I have that library installed. So what I'm going to use to convert the data is the data FNS library. And once that installed, I'm going to import that and use a format method from date FNS. Hopefully that's installed now. Okay, it's still installing. So what we're going to do is we're going to format this in a way that maybe we show the day and some hours. So let's quickly jump into documentation. Search for format. Okay. So what we need is okay, day of a week. So we're going to display maybe a long name. So let's do that here. So we're going to call format. We're going to create new date from actually from here. Okay, date txt. So okay, so we're going to use a day. Then maybe because it's going, I think the API returns that every 3 hours. So we're going to use the hour and perhaps if it's AM or PM as well. Right. So let's check this out. Hopefully the library is installed. Cool. So let's start that application again. So as you can see how easy it is to implement with on your local host, and while you're developing your app in the dev console before you publish it, so you don't have to publish it all over again. Just once you're happy with your app locally, you can test it. You can test it on production, of course, using your account. So it's going to look exactly like the same for your customers. Cool. So let's see what we have here. So in the forecast items, we have Friday 369 and the Saturday 12 and 3 a.m. Perfect. Cool. So we have what we need in this array, but now we need to format it to the LiveChat API format of the rich message. So let's create those elements, and we're going to use forecast items and map over it and create a new objects. So let's jump back to docs. Okay, so we need title, subtitle, and image. Cool. So in our title, it's going to be use item day. Of course, we can do it already here, but I just wanted to show you in a clear way how we get from the forecast items to the rich message elements. Okay. Subtitle, which is going to be temperature, and item description. Okay. Okay, so we have description, and then we have image. Let's put that this is Celsius, Celsius, and then in the image, as far as I remember, there is URL. Okay, so we have URL, which in our case is going to be icon. Item icon. Okay, so let's see if we have that data formatted correctly. So that's reloaded and see elements. Okay, so we have our image, we have our title and the subtitle. Perfect. So now what we need is to create a method which we are going to use to communicate with a LiveChat API. For the purpose of this demo, muted. How about now? Okay, sorry, I must have pressed. Oh yeah, okay, I've got Command D on. All right, okay, sorry. Okay. At least somebody's paying attention. Cool. So I'm going to create a method here. Of course, don't do that in your production app. Extract your API layer from your view, but for this demo, it's fine. So it's called this method send message, which we're going to use again async await syntax. Catch some errors. Okay, right. So let's go and see how to send a rich message to LiveChat. So we are going to use agent. Oops, sorry. Documentation. Messaging API, agent chat, and if we find the method, and then we're going to send this. Okay, so let's say chat. Okay. So we're going to send a rich message. But in order to do that, I'm going to use this endpoint. So here I'm going to specify the chat ID and the type, which is the rich message. And then there is a specific format for for sending a rich message, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, so let's do it like this. Okay, so let's call Axios as a post. So the API is API LiveChat.com version 3.2 agent action and send event. And inside the body, we're going to need a chat ID. So that's going to be our first argument. Then we're going to use a event object, which is of type of rich message and recipients all. So if you would like to send that message only to an agent, we can specify that in here. But we want to send that message to the agent and to your customers. And then template ID is going to be cards, and the elements we just created is going to be here as well. So okay, so we need that chat ID from somewhere. We need those elements, and we need the token. We're going to use that. We're going to pass the token directly to the method, just for the sake of this demo. So okay, so we have that here, and Axios also needs some authorization block. So we're going to use headers for authorization pair, and that's a token right there. Okay, something is not right. Oh yeah, okay. So this is the event. Okay, so that's when this ends. And then we open the all right, okay, now it should be fine. Right, yes, perfect. Okay, and of course some error code if there is any. Cool. So we don't need actually anything back from here, just to make sure that this runs correctly. But we need those information about chat ID and the token. So as in the beginning of our session, we created this use of hook, which gets us back the token, and we're passing that in the props over here to the widget component. So now we need to get that here. Of course, you can use React context to store that information, but let's use props for now and pass it down to the weather card component. Okay. And here, where our component is, we're going to use that data here. Okay. Okay, maybe this is going to be prettier if we do, we'll send forecast and create that method here. Okay. Fine. Okay, and catching some errors. Cool. Right. So what else do we need to this send forecast? So this send forecast is going to call. It's going to call the send message. So we get back our forecast. Don't need that anymore. We need our elements, and we're going to send a message here. Let me check if we have any questions. Cool. Okay, so send message, and right. So in the send forecast, we also need a token and the chat ID. So the first argument here is chat ID elements and tokens. Okay, let's copy that here. Okay, so we have tokens, we have elements, and we need a chat ID. So now that we have auth data here, we can pass that to this method, and we also need the chat ID. So the chat ID, again, as I mentioned last time, we can get it from the profile object. So we just do profile chat and the chat ID. This is all coming just as a reminder. This is all part of the Agent App SDK, which you can find on our repository, but also the information how to use it in our documentation. Cool. So we have a city from the customer, we have the token, and we have our chat ID. So now, hopefully, if we press the button to send the forecast, we should send that information to the customer. So let's see if that works. I know it won't because we missed something, but this is the process of development of the app. So every developer who's actually implementing an app can stumble upon this method, this error. Sorry. Okay. So there is an error here. Which, okay. Yeah, sorry, the API was LiveChat Inc., not LiveChat.com. That was my bad. But we have an error. Okay, so let's see what we're sending. Okay, we're sending the chat ID, we're sending an event, and we're sending the elements, which looks fine. So let's see what the error says. The error says invalid access token. So let's see what we're sending. Okay, we're sending undefined. So let's see why. Cool. So do we have that? Let's see what we're getting back in the auth data. Okay, so the auth data has access token, but I put token, of course. Yes, stupid me. Cool. Okay. So let's try that again. Let's clear the network and send that. Okay, so now we have 403. But let's make sure we're sending the token. That's correct. So let's see the error message. The error message says that we are missing some scopes. We're missing 3 scopes, which this app which API requires to have, in order to send a message to a customer. So yeah, we can easily add that in our application in the dev console. So let's go back to the console. So open the authorization block and let's scroll down to access scopes. So what we can do is just copy the scopes you are missing and just add them. Cool. And the last one is chat conversation. Read write. Okay, let's save the changes. And I believe if I refresh the page now, clear this and that, send message. Oh, okay, chat is not active. Okay, so let me quickly restart that. Yeah, of course, this is another step which as a developer should also handle to show a message to user, but for this demo, I'm just trying to present how easily is to send some information to your customer using the LiveChat API and the web with web authorization. So I'm just going to quickly start a new chat. Okay, we have that loaded already. So if we send that information, as you can see, it sends the carousel to the customer, but also to an agent. So as a customer will see on their end this little carousel here, which you can see it's showing some icons, it's showing the dates and the subtitle. So this is all built in LiveChat API, so you can use that. Okay, cool. So the last thing I would like to do now, before we wrap up, is to switch over to Real API and do some tests with you guys. So let's change it back. Let's change it back to a Real API. And the token I'm going to use different for this one. Need to import that library. Okay, and different for the forecast API. So send message is fine. Get forecast. So instead of using mocks, I'm going to use a real data here. Okay, let's double check if this is still working. Okay, send forecast. Perfect. Right. So this is my client bot. I'm going to send you a link now to the live coding channel. And if you can join and start the chat. You need to start writing something. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's say we have Steve. Steve is from Brighton, and the weather is 11 degrees. So let's send him a forecast. We also have some guys from Poland, from Greece. also from Lisbon. Hello, Joanne. So let's send some weather to Athens and to Lisbon. Clear sky. Red sun, indeed. And to Poland as well. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much it from the live coding session. But there is actually some more stuff which I would encourage you to do as well. So I'm going to push that code to our repository in a minute. So it's going to be over here on the weather widget repo. So there is a coding challenge which details you can find on developers page, which is posted on Discord. So here you can solve a programming task and win 10 people can win $50 to start your journey in developer program. So the task is I hope it's simple. So the first task is to display information about the customer, whether using a customer details widget, and there is a link to documentation. So what I mean by that is here you have a customer details widget. So I would like you to implement using the code I provide you, implement a new card here which displays a weather about the user, about the customer. So that's the first thing, and the second task is using the threading, tagging endpoint, which is over here. You should call a method to tag the chat. For example, I don't know, with weather widget. When you're sending weather, yeah. So sometimes it's useful for your managers to search your chats based on a given tag. Yeah, so you can do it manually over here using some tag. But what I would like to ask you to do is when you press the send button, you will tag this chat using the API. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it from me. Well, there are some things. So let me just stop sharing my screen. Stop streaming. Cool. So yeah, we are going to send in the live coding channel a survey, which I would encourage you to fill out. We are actually we're hoping for your feedback to see what we can improve, what was good, what wasn't, and how we can change that. And yeah, from this point, I'd love to thank my team. They did an amazing job promoting the session, writing articles, starting the Discord channel as well, and yeah. So thank you very much. Okay, so let's say, okay, hold on, Orzech. Let's see if we have. Okay, if we have any questions, please post them to live coding or ask community. We will try to answer them as soon as we can. And okay, Orzech is asking for a group photo. Oh, Okay, so let's see. Yeah, okay, I'm going to, okay, so the first question is, can we customize rich message card UI? So, okay, I'm going to reply on that. You can there is a way of customizing it. However, it's not, well, you can see that in our documentation. There are different examples how to do it, and the one which we presented in the docs are only ones required currently. Sorry, available currently. But if you have any case which you would like to use and it's not there, feel free to ask us. Maybe we can talk to the team and we can implement that. And then there was a question about difference between iframe, pop-up, and full direct, please. Okay, so I'm going to reply that question later on the chat, because it's yeah, it's more complicated. So any other questions? So yeah, yes. Okay, so I think I replied to that question. Okay, but as I said, if you have any questions later, feel free to ask us. Amazing. Cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for being here. And I would like to invite you for the next session. But yeah, more info to come. So thank you.